Oh, hello. Didn't notice you there. Now, there are several very important things to remember when you are writing about a novel in the examination, whether it is an open or closed book. Now, firstly, you must know and understand the text really well. Use literary terminology. Analyse the text with insight. Watch that you express yourself clearly and plan a coherent or well-linked argument. Now let's have a look at how we can best achieve these objectives, tackling each of these 5 areas. Know and understand the text really well. Read and reread the text, make jottings, and organise your ideas. In your revision, you should test yourself like this. Can you briefly summarise the storyline and structure of the text? Can you write a synopsis of the writer's main themes? Could you comment on the writer's main message and the ways the genre and narrative contribute to this? Could you write about the importance of the ways each main character is presented? And finally, could you illustrate all these by commenting on the author's linguistic and stylistic devices? Over to you, Ria.
If your exam is open book, make sure you don't waste time rereading your text. You should know it like the back of your hand. Just look at the text when you need to confirm details. In a closed book examination, memorise mind maps of key information. This is the most important part of your revision. You'll then be able to remember details instantly. Develop a secure overview of your text. Then the details should take care of themselves. Make sure you have a critical overview of the text. This means that you have developed a clear picture of the writer's main themes and preoccupations in the novel. Don't use terminology for the sake of it, but you will need to use enough to convince the examiner that you understand some literary conventions. For example, a writer's use of metaphor and similes. Metaphors aren't difficult to identify, as we use them all the time to make sense of the world. A metaphor simply means using language figuratively, by describing one thing in terms of another, without any direct reference to the original. Let's look at an example of a metaphor. If you were describing the sun, you would not mention the sun, but say, the bright flaming orange slowly climbed over the high jagged mountain range in the distance. A simile also compares 2 different things. It always mentions both the original and the figurative or imagined comparison, using either like or as. So, if you were describing the sun, you would mention the sun and say the sun, like a bright flaming orange. A frequent mistake that students make is simply to spot, label and mention metaphors and similes and leave it at that. Don't do this. To achieve a reasonable pass grade, you will need to analyse the use of the device. Most importantly, explain what the writer intended and how this affects the reader. So, when Dora Chance at the 100th birthday party, near the end of Wise Children, describes the Hazard family party by saying, they'd asked us on stage and let us join in. Legit, at last. There was a house we had in common and it was called the past, even though we'd lived in different rooms. How many metaphors is she using? The stage, to represent artificial and dramatic way the Hazards lived their lives on the surface. A house and rooms to represent the past. Also, this metaphor draws attention to the ways in which location and accommodation can reflect social differences and experiences. So here we have 3 simple, straightforward examples of the use of metaphor. But in addition, you need to explain the effects these have on you as you read, and why you think Carter has used them in this way. Note when Carter compares the Chances being at the party at the Hazard's house to being on stage. She is perhaps trying to represent the thrill Dora and Nora feel at being present at such a legitimate gathering. She may also be trying to convey a sense of the theatrical and superficial way in which the Hazards have lived their lives. Carter uses the metaphor of the house to represent the past. She may be conveying the idea that, despite the differences in the type of homes or experiences or rooms the 2 branches of the family have lived in, they both share important family history. there is also the faintest intertextual echo of a biblical reference. In my father's house there are many mansions. This may link up to the frequent "bless this house" refrain that Dora uses to refer to 49 Bard Road. So, can you see how each of these metaphors reinforce the others and link and refer to the dominant themes and motifs Carter uses throughout the whole text? Now to analyse the effects. The use of these deceptively simple metaphors suit Dora's no-nonsense, chatty approach to life's troubles. Here Carter effectively summarises and reflects two of the major themes of the novel. These create legitimacy and illegitimacy in the theatre, both in terms of birth and different experiences of belonging. She is looking at the importance of home as a symbol of survival and solace against pain and struggle. The use of these metaphors also conveys the complex way Carter constructs Dora's self-conscious narrative. They develop the semi-autobiographical romance genre in order that Dora can trawl into the past and help the reader to identify and make sense of the complex family dynasty. Let's find out what to avoid doing. So your skeleton essay plan might look like this. Introduction, key message. Look at providing some overview of the key theme and exploration of the writer's use of narrative voice. Development 1. Consider the writer's use of genre and themes. Development 2. Consider the writer's use of narrative structure and form. Development 3. Consider the writer's use of language and style. Snappy conclusion. Try to provide a clinching fresh take or overview of the text with an intelligent key quotation. Never repeat your previous arguments. This is a waste of time. So, for wise children, your skeleton essay plan might look like this. Introduction, key message, pluck the day, eat the peach. Dora's narrator providing an overview. Development 1. Consider Carter's use of genre and themes. The willing suspension of disbelief. Development 2. Consider Carter's use of narrative, structure and form, modelled on the 5-act Shakespearean play. Development 3. Consider Carter's use of language, style and transformation concerning humour. Snappy conclusion. What a joy it is to dance and sing. Next, take the novel you are studying and try to decide on no more than 3 main points you will make in each paragraph. This is apart perhaps from the last, which needs to summarise the argument sharply and concisely. Use connectives to link your ideas carefully, as close to a golden chain as possible. Each point you make should follow on logically from the previous one. Follow these steps, and then if you are studying a different text, try this exercise. So, in paragraph 1, if your text were wise children, you might decide to use these points and link quotations. Carter describes the narrator, Dora, as drunk in charge of a narrative, perhaps to exaggerate her exuberance and excitement in telling a good story. As an official chronicler of the Hazard family, Carter uses Dora to introduce the complexities and the fatherless twins, divided families, the implied weakness of fathers, and the strength of mothers. Her main message would seem to be, pluck the day, eat the peach, or make the best of whatever situation fate places you in, as Grandma Chance taught the girls to do. Then in paragraph 2, you might focus on the way Carter positions the reader through her use of fairy tale genre, inviting you into the willing suspension of disbelief. By using genre of magic, realism and romance, Carter may be conveying her main message that anyone can transform their situation in life, however difficult, if only they use their imagination, determination, and try to see the funny side of things. By swapping perfumes, Dora tricks her sister's boyfriend into making love to her. Not very probable, is it? But amusing and sad. This is only one of the many examples you might choose to illustrate the use of genre. Now try and think of one of your own. In paragraph 3, you might explore Carter's use of narrative structure and form. The way she has modelled the novel on the typical 5-act Shakespearean play form. This could be in order to emphasise the epic, tragic comic dimensions of the family relationships, parallels and interactions. The way she uses the tight time frame of a day, clever use of the first and last chapters in the present. These are used as the bread to sandwich the middle 3 chronological autobiographical chapters about the past. The way she uses this structure to document and comment on social values. Changes in the media and their means of production. Also, the changes in the respective roles of women and men and the effects of these on the family. In paragraph 4, you might wish to focus on the language Carter uses to describe the contrast between Peregrine and Melchior as fathers. Their different roles vis-a-vis Dora and Nora, choosing appropriate quotations and analysing them. Melchior, the natural narcissistic father, representing love of artifice, status and post-colonial decadence. Peregrine, the illusory, intuitive father, representing love for life, restlessness and spasmodic generosity. Finally, in paragraph 5, try to present an overview. For example, as Dora, the self-conscious narrator, chosen as the voice of the novel by the author, reflects, I am not sure if this is a happy ending. I cross my fingers. It's important to recognise Carter's message to women. Survive by living life to the full. What a joy it is to dance and sing. You may mention briefly the importance of the presentation of Grandma Chance. She raised Dora and her twin sister Nora, and may have been their real mother. Grandma invented this family. She put it together out of whatever came to hand. Such a final, clinching, quirky quotation might provide a fitting, humorous, realistic overview of the importance of the writer's message.